Hello and welcome to Utah State Women's Basketball here tonight on AggieRadio.com. Utah State taking on the Lobos of New Mexico. Hope you are having a good Valentine's Day this evening, and we've got some Aggie hoop action for you in a Valentine's Day special, as well as a pink out here at the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum. Both teams wearing quite a bit of pink tonight in the support of breast cancer awareness, and of course Valentine's Day kind of helps double that down, so should be a good one tonight. New Mexico coming in a very solid team all season long. They have struggled a little bit as of late, but I mean they're 19-7 on the season and right up towards the top of the Mountain West Conference. 7-6 in conference play, though they've had a pretty tough schedule and things should start to lighten up a little bit for them here. But they're coming off of winning 3 of their last 4. If you're Utah State, though, the hope is that New Mexico has kind of struggled on the road. 3-6 on the road this season. It's actually kind of remarkable when you think about the fact that they've only played 9 total road games the entire season. They definitely have the benefit of a home schedule throughout much of the season. Only 3 road wins the whole year for the Lobos. Well, for Utah State, home has been a good place for them. They're 5-19 on the season, but 4-6 here at home. So 4 of the 5 wins for Utah State have been at home, and even in the losses, it's been much better basketball played in this building by this team in general. Utah State is coming off of not, I am not a big fan of moral victories, but they're coming off of one of, probably the best loss of the season, if that makes any sense or lays any consolation for this team. But it was a 68-60 loss at the top team in the conference, Boise State. They went on the road. They've really struggled on the road this season. Went on the road up to the #1 team in the conference and stayed really close with the Broncos throughout the entirety of that game. Got up early. They led actually at halftime. Got up at one point by 11. Then things, they got a little bit out of a rhythm. The offense stopped clicking quite as well as it had been. The defense, Boise, they're so good at three-pointers. They started to knock down a few and climbed right back in it. And then, the final score says the Utah State lost by 8, but that's largely because of fouls. And it was really a very close game right down to the wire. But so Utah State, I think, it's a loss and whatnot, but I still think that they come in with a bit of energy, a little bit of momentum off of that game, and knowing that they could hang in there with not just a very highly ranked team, but with a very fast-paced team. The story tonight is going to be all about pace for Utah State. In the first time they played New Mexico, it was a very fast pace. New Mexico would bring it down. They'd pass maybe once or twice, launch up a 3, maybe drive, but not much passing going on. They just, they used 7, 8, 9 seconds of the shot clock, whereas Utah State is a very slow pace of play. When they played Boise State, they often used 25, 26 seconds of the shot clock. New Mexico comes in scoring 82.7 points per game. That's 14th in the nation. Now that one, shows it gives the credit to the scores that this team has and the efficient shooting that they have. But it, too, goes to show you their pace of play. It's just incredibly fast. They fly up and down the court. Not the greatest defensive team. A lot of the defensive numbers look low because of pace of play. You're going to give up a lot of points. They give up 71.5 per game. They have a little bit lower field goal percentage defensive numbers. So, they allow opponents to shoot 41%, while they shoot 42.9. So, I think that the pace kind of throws things off when you're looking at the stats for this New Mexico team, though they are very good and very efficient. Here's the most telling number about this New Mexico team. They are one of the very fastest pace of play teams in the nation. And again, they score 82.7 points per game. They only turn it over a total of right around 12 times per game, 12.2. That's 16th lowest in the nation. So they have a lot of offensive possessions. They have the ball a lot, and they just don't turn it over. So they do a very good job at taking care of the ball while still getting a lot of action at the rim. Utah State, we've seen the offense kind of struggle in the last 5 or so games before Boise State. They were definitely in a slump, a lot of 40-ish points games. I mean, they against Wyoming, 46 points, against New Mexico, 47 the first time, of course, that they played them, against Fresno, or against Air Force, 50, against Boise State, 44, Wyoming, 42. So, I mean, very low scoring stretch. Utah State kind of struggled. I mean, again, they do have a slow pace of play, so that factors into it. But they struggled. Let's say it how it is. They struggled offensively for quite a while. They really got things going against Boise State. I think that they realized, look, we can either, they definitely learned from the first time they played New Mexico and said, because Boise's another very fast pace of play team, they said, look, we can either rush it down, try and match their pace of play, which we are not good at. Utah State does not have the outside shooters, does not have the firepower on offense to be able to keep up with a team like that. And that's not a knock on them. It's just the style. And so they said, we're going to control our own pace. We're going to keep the ball for 25, 26 seconds of the shot clock before we ever launch the ball off. We're going to get the most open shot possible, and that really played out well for them. We've got an interview from Coach Jerry Finkbeiner here, and he's going to talk a little bit about that as well as tonight's game.
All right, Coach, coming off the road against Boise State just a few days ago, it seems like the team had, I mean, of course it was a loss and there's not really any moral victories, but a much better showing than in the first meeting against Boise for sure. And really throughout the first half, very close, leading at halftime. And then the third quarter, it seems like there were some fouls and some calls and just things that kind of broke up the momentum. But talk about the team's performance as a whole and putting together really an overall start-to-finish game for the most part against Boise.
Yeah, it's one of those games, Jaden, in a loss, walking away feeling, okay, we competed and had our chance on a away floor against one of the best teams in the conference. As you alluded to, we had a 10-point lead in the third quarter, and then just slowly but surely, Boise State chipped away at it, fell down by 6 or 7 in the fourth quarter, and then caught up within 1 with a couple minutes to go and just couldn't get over that hump. But it was, we've lost this year several games, and some of those games we walked away thinking, man, if we wish we had that first quarter over, or that third quarter over. But that Boise State game, we were right there and very competitive, and gave Boise everything they wanted at their home.
In that game, only 8 players saw the floor, 7 of which really saw meaningful playing time. I mean, Shannon Duffy was out there for 37 minutes. Do you think that, was part of the success in that game because of a change in lineup and just really focusing in on those starting players a little bit more?
Well, we've had 2 or 3 games in the last 6 or 7 where we've played fewer amount of players, and some of it has to do with matchup, some has to do with just the flow of the game. As you'll probably notice, when we play more players, that usually means that we're having some players that are really struggling offensively or defensively, not having a good matchup, maybe not making the adjustment needed, so we need to find somebody else to give a shot. And that's part of our weakness as a team. We don't have that experienced lineup that can make those adjustments on the fly on their own on the floor. I would like to play 9 or 10, 11 girls, but we're probably a team that when we are most successful, probably our older girls, the most experienced, are playing most of the minutes. So my answer's all over the map, but you mentioned Shannon Duffy. She had a very good game. I think one of the better games she had her sophomore year. Statistically, she's done better in some games, but she was very focused for the 37 minutes she played. I thought Eliza West had a good second half, especially. I thought, off the bench, especially in the fourth quarter, Olivia West played well. So we're still all over the map too as a team, but we're starting to kind of hone in on some things, and turnovers aren't as big a deal as they were maybe say 3 weeks ago. I think rebounding is still one of our things we just still got to get better at.
So there was a stretch of 3-4 games before Boise where it seems like the offense was really hard to come by, and much lower scoring games, and then against Boise, a lot of offensive production really throughout the whole game. What are some of the different things that you've tried throughout the season offensively and just changes you've made, and then what was clicking so well in that one?
Well, you know, I like playing second-round games because it gives us a barometer, a measuring stick of, you know, closing the gap or maintaining an advantage. And we definitely closed the gap on Boise State. You know, here at our place, the game was not in doubt in Boise's favor in the third quarter, whereas at their place we were ahead by 10 in the third quarter. So there was a nice competitive change and difference between the two games, a 3 or 4 week time slot. We have not intentionally slowed the ball down, but we're trying to focus in on quality of shots rather than quantity of shots. We're percentage-wise, it's the greatest unknown, but we're not shooting the ball very well, and we're not shooting the ball very well on the season, which is very disappointing. And so because of that, we're really concentrating on the quality shots, and we're dropping the quantity. And so our typical possession against Boise State is probably in the 24 to 26 second range per possession. Boise State likes to play in the 8 to 10 second range. So we maintain control of the tempo, and in fact, their head coach mentioned after the game, said it was just really frustrating playing you guys because how long you had the ball in your hands. And so we did some good things, and that's not necessarily our style, but I think we're going to that just because of lack of success in other areas, and it kind of focuses us and tells us these are things we need to do down the stretch, is take maybe fewer shots but make sure they're more quality.
Well, I mean, speaking of controlling the pace of play and playing a very fast pace of play team, you're playing New Mexico tonight, who's just, I mean, probably the fastest pace in the conference. In the first game, when you went down there, it seems like the first half, they really, I mean, they had a stretch where they just really ran away, and then the second half, kind of, the team regrouped a little bit. Was that figuring out how to control that pace of play? And do you go in with a similar strategy tonight as you did against Boise?
Yeah, we've used that example for this game tonight. Also, we used that example at New Mexico State, or excuse me, at New Mexico with Boise State. Example, first half, it was all about maybe one pass and shoot, one pass and drive, and we couldn't keep up with our opponents, the Lobos. They literally just ran by us, outshot us, everything out by us. And the second half, at halftime, we talked about it. We got to go through the layers of our offense, let the offense work for us instead of us trying to create offense. And it was a tale of two halves down there. First half, they didn't necessarily have a big halftime lead, but it was big. I mean, they controlled everything. And then the second half, we held our own. In fact, almost played the game equal for the second 20 minutes. So, yeah, it was different. That's a good example of quantity of shots in the first half. We couldn't keep up with our opponents. Quality shots in the second half. The game is tight.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate the time. Good luck.
Thanks, Jaden.
Okay, so that's Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner. A lot of interesting stuff right there in that interview. I really think that the sign, I mean, it's a good sign for Utah State fans, I think. The way that Utah State played against Boise just a few days ago, not only that they kept it close, because of course that's big, you know, when you can really stay up with a good top of the Mountain West team like Boise. Look at game film from that game against New Mexico and be able to make adjustments and say that we're going to try and control the pace of play. It is possible to do. Air Force controlled the pace of play against New Mexico the last time that they played. That was just earlier this week. I'm sorry, I guess Saturday. Air Force held them down to 57 points and scored 49 of their own. That's last place in the Mountain West Conference, Air Force. That's a two-win team in Air Force. It is possible with disciplined defense and with, taking care of the ball offensively to keep them close. And, Utah State, I fully believe, can score more than 57 on New Mexico if they come out clicking. And, if they can hold them down to that 60, 65 point range, they've got a shot at it. But just the first game, if you look only at the first game and the numbers from that, it's not a good sign for Utah State. In that game, Utah State shot 32%. Looking at the wrong line here. In that game, Utah State shot a total of 35%, 1 of 9 from the three-point line, and they let New Mexico shoot 49% and 45 from the three-point line on 15 of 33. They made 15 three-pointers in that game. So perimeter defense, another big key for Utah State in this one. Again, in that one, Utah State just absolutely outplayed in the first half. The third quarter, though, they came out. It was tied 17-17 in the third quarter. The fourth quarter, New Mexico pulled away a little bit at the end, but like it was really close, really back and forth throughout the second half, which is another good sign if you're a Utah State fan. You think that they've probably started to figure out how to control these fast pace of play teams, and it should help them out here tonight. Thanks for tuning in to Utah State women's basketball here on AggieRadio.com. We're going to cut out to a quick break and come back with starting lineups, some final thoughts before we tip off here at the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum in Logan, Utah. All right, welcome on back to the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum, where Utah State gets set to take on the New Mexico Lobos. Thanks for those of you tuning in now via Mountain West Network for joining us. I'm Jaden Johnson on the play-by-play tonight, and we should have a good one here at the Spectrum between the Aggies and the Lobos. Utah State just about to announce their starting lineup. New Mexico already announced theirs, so we'll go ahead and read through their starting lineup. A bit of a surprise here for New Mexico. As they are going to stick with a few regular starters, but one big change here in the starting lineup. Cherise Bainin, of course, starting at guard for the Lobos, senior from Las Vegas, Nevada. She started every single game of her Lobo career. This is her 123rd consecutive start for the Lobos, so no surprises there. Number 2, Taysha Buck, the senior guard from Red Wing, Minnesota. India Fly, the freshman guard from Oregon City, Oregon. Linnea Bryan making her way into the starting lineup tonight. Just her second start of the season. Senior guard from El Paso, Texas, starting in place of Alex Laparolari. Don't know if that's injury related, if it's, don't know exactly what the case is, but it's going to be Linnea Bryan starting in place of Alex Laparolari, the starter for every other game this season. And Jason Nunn, number 44, the senior center from Kirkland, Washington, who has just been a very solid player for the Lobos all season long. Utah State lineups you can see now being announced. Eliza West, the sophomore guard from Mount Martha, Australia. This is the same Utah State lineup that they've used for the last 5. Shannon Duffy, number 5, the senior forward from Preston, Australia. Haley Bassett, number 12, the senior forward from Layton, Utah. Victoria Price, number 21, the sophomore guard from Grand Prairie, Texas, and Rachel Brewster, number 22, the junior guard from Melbourne, Australia. So again, the sixth consecutive game in which Utah State has used that lineup. Against Boise State, Utah State only went 8 deep into the lineup. They really only played 7 players a significant amount of time. We saw Shannon Duffy pick up a whole 37 minutes in that game. I don't know if they're going to stick with such a shallow lineup tonight. It might be tough against such a run-and-gun New Mexico team, but they haven't used a ton of their depth in the last couple of games. So we'll see how that pans out tonight. Jump ball just about to take place, and Bassett tips it to Brewster. Utah State wins the tip, almost turns it over on the first pass of the game, but Eliza West has it for Utah State. Aggie's going to have the first opportunity for a bucket here tonight. Eliza West, the sophomore point guard, reigning Mountain West Freshman of the Year at point guard for Utah State tonight. Victoria Price has it. She passes it into Bassett. Bassett on the left side, backing in, working her way against India Fly, and puts it up behind her for the first bucket of the night. Utah State goes up 2-0, and we are on the board here in Logan. Lobo ball, their first offensive possession now of the night. Bainan passes over the left wing, gets it to Fly, who's going to drive in, put it off the glass, and in. You're going to see all night long New Mexico a very, very fast pace of play team. If you listen to pregame here on AggieRadio.com, we talked a lot about that. 82.7 points per game this season for the Lobos. That's 14th in the nation. Liza passes it over to Brewster over to the right wing for Price, who then passes it into New Mexico coverage, and it's stolen away by Jason Nunn. So back to the Lobos we go, looking to take a lead up top. Three, no good from Fly, but Utah State grabs the long rebound as Brewster comes away with it. Utah State on the flip side of that pace of play, very, very slow, 57.9 points per game, so that's going to be the real story here tonight. Liza has it up top. She starts to drive, goes up lefty off the glass. Eliza West, nice little move. I would love to see Eliza drive a little bit more like that. She is just fantastic at driving and puts Utah State up 4-2. Free throw line. Here's Fly. She passes it in, down low to Nunn. Nunn goes up. I think she might have gotten blocked a little bit by Bassett, but grabs her own board regardless and is fouled on the second chance way back up. So she's going to head to the free throw line, foul on Haley Bassett. Jason Nunn, what a story she has been this season. She's been she's been a good player, a contributor for the first couple seasons of her career. She's a junior this season and has just absolutely broken out. 16.6 points per game, that's third in the Mountain West, and 10.1 rebounds per game. First free throw is missed. She's got another one. But that 10.1 rebounds, that's first in the Mountain West Conference, and the second free throw is good. Just a fantastic player, maybe in the running for Mountain West Player of the Year. Here's Eliza, working against Bainan, moves to the left, gets over the left wing, tries to pass it, tipped, and that's stolen away by New Mexico. Bryan comes away with it, and Bryan, in her second start of the season, takes it right at the rim and puts it in. And the Lobos now lead the first time tonight, 5-4. Liza goes right then left. She's going to drive again. Stops on the block. Picks up her dribble. Passes it over. Tries to get it to Brewster. Almost a turnover as Brewster fumbled it away, but goes over to Bassett, who picks it up and saves the Aggies. 10 on the shot clock. There's Brewster backing in. Up to the elbow. Moves up and under. Goes up. Off the glass. Can't go. Tries to grab her own rebound, and it's tipped out of bounds off of Brewster's fingertips, so it's going to go back to the Lobos. Good effort there, and a good job to finish her shot, though, by Rachel Brewster. Bainan, the Mountain West preseason Player of the Year at point guard for New Mexico tonight. She passes it to the free throw line, and a jumper up and in for Tasha Buck. Buck gets on the board, and it's now 7-4 for the Lobos. Here's Eliza way up top. Gets a screen from Duffesey. Gets her up towards the paint, then she passes it back to Duffesey on the baseline. Duffesey going to back up, pick up her dribble, and hand it over to Brewster. Brewster back up top to Eliza. We got 9 on the shot clock. Screen coming from Duffesey. Instead, Eliza moves right then left into the paint, off the glass, too much on it, and can't connect. So New Mexico takes it, brings it back the other way quickly in transition. Buck puts up a three, won't fall, rebound. Still in limbo, and then Eliza comes away with it after a couple of tips. So Utah State trailing 7-4. Here goes a three from Bassett. That won't fall. Price tries to get the offensive board, but got knocked a little bit as she came down, so that's going to go out of bounds off of the Aggies. Lobo ball. Utah State really struggling this season to defend the three-pointer, while New Mexico a very good three-point shooting team. That's going to be another big key as Bainan tries to drive in, passes over to Nunn on the block. Nunn's shot won't go, but Bainan grabs her own board, puts it back. That won't go, and the rebound eventually by Rachel Brewster. The numbers behind that, Utah State currently 348th in the nation in three-point defense. There are 349 teams. The only team behind them, Nevada. That's Utah State's next opponent. So really struggling to defend the three. That's 38.5% this season, while New Mexico shooting the three, 36.2, which is 42nd in the nation. Liza drives again. This time won't fall as well. And the rebound by New Mexico. Back in transition, looks like Buck thought about a three. Instead dribbles, hands it back. Fly brings it around and up top, and 15 on the shot clock. That might be the first time the clock has gotten this low in this game for the Lobos. They love to run and gun. Here goes the drive. Fly trying to get in. Hands it back, and the bucket by Bainan comes flying up the baseline, got the handoff and put it in. And a timeout called as the Lobos lead 9-5 with 5:01 to go. Interesting use of a timeout there. It's exactly 5:01 on the clock, and the next dead ball would have been a immediate timeout, but Coach Finkbeiner wants to regroup immediately. So we're going to go ahead and cut out for a quick break here on Aggie Radio as well. And we'll be back in just a moment. Utah State trails 9-4. Welcome on back, and thanks for tuning in to AggieRadio.com for Utah State women's basketball tonight. Utah State trails 9-4 to the New Mexico Lobos here 5 minutes into the first quarter. Aggies called a timeout to regroup, and they need to get some offense going here if they want to be able to stay in this one. The first game against these two teams got out of hand very quick for Utah State as New Mexico just came out gunning, knocking down just about everything they took. And a similar-looking offense tonight for the Lobos, and Utah State really unable to answer on the other end so far tonight. So wanting to regroup, we'll see how they come out of this break. But as it sits 9-4 for New Mexico. It's Valentine's Day special here in the Spectrum, a pink out as the Aggies supporting breast cancer awareness and doubling that down with Valentine's Day. So a good double use there, and a lot of pink in the stands, a lot of pink on the Utah State players. Aggies have the ball out of the timeout, and Eliza West holds it up high, guarded by Bainan. Gets up, hands it, passes it over to Brewster on the elbow, then back over to the right wing for Eliza. She's going to drive, then kick it out. Right jumper up from 18, no good from Duffy, but the offensive board put back by Rachel Brewster. Brewster now on the board for the first time tonight. 3 rebounds, though, for the junior. Driving in is Buck. Buck went up, put up a shot, might have gotten blocked, but the rebound goes to Anderson, who puts it back, and that won't fall either. Utah State grabs the rebound and now trail 9-6. Eliza passes over the right wing for Brewster, hands it back to Eliza. Up top to Duffy. New Mexico playing really solid defense so far tonight. Very aggressive, feisty style of defense. Brewster going to spin around towards the free throw line, shoot from the elbow, no good. Offensive board by Deja Mason, who goes back up. Contact but no call, grabs her own board the second time, passes it out. Brewster can't hit from 10. Another tip back at Utah State. Several offensive rebounds, 3 or 4 by my count, and they're going to have another opportunity now with a fresh shot clock. Good effort there, but then Brewster passes it into coverage, stolen away as she tried to get it. Anderson tips it, takes it the other way, and lays it in. And just a kind of, Utah State, you get some momentum there, you get a lot of opportunities, and then a little bit of a sloppy, a little bit of a poor turnover there, the third of the night for the Aggies. Here's Eliza West. She passes in. Beautiful cutting pass to Brewster, but then Brewster passes another one. I'm sorry, Duffy, not Brewster. Duffy passes another one back to New Mexico, who takes it back the other way, puts up a quick shot, and Utah State with the board. Told you it's going to be a quick pace of play. I'm going to try and keep up the best I can, but very New Mexico, you rarely see them use more than about 5 or 10 seconds of the shot clock. Duffy passes it into a cutting Eliza West, and a beautiful pass followed by a beautiful finish. Eliza West gets her 4th point of the night. On the right wing, here's Washington. She brings it over to the left block, passes it out. Driving in, Bryant lays it in. Offensive board grabbed by New Mexico. Kicks it out. Left corner, 3 up and good. Maddie Washington from 3. That's not a player you want to let get hot. Utah State remembers her well from the first time. She went 5 of 9 from the three-point line a couple of weeks ago in Albuquerque for 15 points. Price in the corner, kicks it up top to Eliza. Eliza down low. Deja Mason one-on-one in the paint, puts it up, and good defense by the Lobos. Lay-in comes up short, and New Mexico brings it back the other way. Left corner 3 up quickly by Washington, this time an air ball. Same spot as last time, this time can't connect though. Aggies grab the board. 1:44 to go here in the first, and it's 14-8 New Mexico. Eliza going to try and drive, gets into the paint, kicks it over towards the baseline for Duffy. Duffy hands it back out to Brewster. Brewster outside the arc, steps inside, shoots from 18, jumper no good, and the rebound by Buck. Brewster now just 1 of 5 so far. Again, 4 rebounds, so I mean she's doing her part in other places, but shot just not falling yet. Up top here's Buck, pass down low to Bainan. Bainan guarded tightly by Victoria Price. She turns around, puts up a hook, no good, and Victoria Price with the aggressive rebound. Good defense and a good board by Victoria Price. 1 minute exactly left in this quarter, and the Aggies trail 14-8. Aggies going to use a lot of this shot clock here. 12 left. Liza has it. Coach Finkbeiner tells him, let's go, hurry it up. Still not much movement, and then a pass from Victoria Price to Mason up top, poked away and laid in easily the other way by Taysha Buck. 5 turnovers for Utah State. And it's been costly right now for the Aggies. Driving in is Eliza, almost throws another turnover, but Mason picks it up. Right wing 3 up. Victoria Price can't hit. Rebound offensive by Deja Mason, and Utah State going to have another opportunity here. Shot clock turns off, 17 on the game clock. Aggies can hold for the last possession, and they likely will. Eliza way up top with it. Aggies trailing 16-8, can close that up a little bit with some points here. 5 on the shot clock. Liza goes right then left, gets into the paint, kicks it out. Right wing 3, same spot as last time. Victoria Price this time in and out. And that is how the quarter will end. Sloppy, really a pretty sloppy offensive first quarter for the Aggies. Defensively, okay, you know, and against such a good offensive team in New Mexico, it's about as good as you're going to play defensively. But the Aggies, 5 turnovers and just 4 of 16 from the field in the first quarter. Got a lot of shots, but missed a lot of them. We're going to cut out to a first quarter break, but after 1, it's New Mexico 16, Utah State 8. Welcome on back. Hope you're enjoying your Valentine's Day. Utah State taking on the New Mexico Lobos and trailing after a quarter 16-8. I said it right before the end of the first, but Utah State played some decent defense throughout the first quarter. Just couldn't get anything clicking offensively, and if they want to stay in this one, this is a New Mexico team that can pull away very quickly. We need to see some offense quick here. First turnover of the game for New Mexico as Antonia Anderson goes driving up the baseline, then pass it into Deja Mason. So the Aggies come away with a steal and force the first turnover of the game for the Lobos. Left wing, here's Olivia West. She drives up, gets to about 10 feet out, puts up a high arcing shot, no good, and then a jump ball forced on the rebound, which will stay Utah State ball. Good hustle there to force it, and Utah State going to inbound from the baseline. Inbound immediately poked right back out of bounds by Anderson. So reset the scenario just over on the right wing now, or on the right side of the baseline, I should say. Inbound goes to Emmy Harris, who pass up to Duffsey, then back out to Harris. Up top for Price, who's going to reset it. Over to Duffsey, then out right to Harris. Good passing here by the Aggies on this possession. Inside to Duffsey, 10 feet out in the paint, puts one up, can't get it to fall, tips the rebound back, and diving out of bounds to save it is Olivia West. However, it's going to be called out on Utah State. Might have had a foot on the baseline or just been able to get it back in. So New Mexico with their first, I guess their second offensive possession here of the quarter. Driving in is Fly. She passes it over up top, then out to the left wing. 3 up, no good from Washington. And the rebound by Victoria Price. Aggies pushing it back quickly in transition. Emmy Harris tries to drive and is fouled. Went up for the shot, and so it's going to go to the free throw line for the first time tonight for either team. No, I apologize. There was one very early on by New Mexico, but the first Utah State trip to the free throw line. Oh, they're going to say a free throw. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They say that the foul is before the shot. She drove up the baseline, was in the shooting motion at the end of the play, but they're going to say got hit on the arm before she started to move up. So inbound instead, which goes to Duffsey driving up the left side of the paint, puts it up with the lefty off the glass and in. 6-point game. Here's Bryan. She passes up top to Fly. Fly inside, right block, turns around. Buck puts it in. And Tasha Buck now with 6 points. Harris, the freshman, passes it up to Price, then over the left wing for Olivia West. West back up top to Harris. 14 on the shot clock. Olivia going to drive, kick it over. Left side of the baseline for Duffsey. Duffsey high pass up to Mason, frees up an open right wing jumper. Won't fall though from Emmy Harris. And then a foul called on the rebound by, I believe they're going to say Shannon Duffsey. Yep, Duffsey picks it up. So Duffsey grabbed in, reached in for the ball on the rebound and picks up a foul. 18-10, the New Mexico lead. Lobo ball after that. Driving up right side of the paint is Fly. She passes it back out, and then just inside the free throw line, Buck puts up a shot. Can't get it to fall, and the rebound by Victoria Price. Left wing, here's Olivia. Olivia gets a screen by Deja Mason. Gets up to the free throw line, picks up the dribble, kicks it out right. Price going to try and drive again up to the baseline. Jumper from 15, no good. Utah State just can't get anything to fall. They're creating some open shots, just not connecting. Offensive foul the other way as Bainan charges into Olivia West. West got her feet planted and hit the floor, so that is another turnover there for the Lobos, their third. All 3 coming, though, in the first 3 minutes of this quarter, so Lobos starting to get a little less tight on offense. Utah State just unable to capitalize the other way. 5 of 21 so far shooting from the field for the Aggies. 0 of 4 from downtown. Olivia West has it way up top. Gets a screen from Deja Mason. Frees up Mason. She's going to get the pass on the screen. Lays it off the left side. Had the open lane. Just put way too much on it. And the rebound to New Mexico. That's another example of a good shot by the Aggies and just not going in the basket. Fly gets up just beyond the block, shoots from 7 feet out on the turnaround and knocks it down. Lobos now up by 10. It's 20-10 with 6:27 to go here in the second. Jessie Gear with her first action of the night, has it on the left wing. Passes up top. Here's Eliza. Eliza gets a screen from Duffasy. Tries to pass it, and it's tipped. Tried to pass to Mason, and a great job by Jason Nunn to not only tip it, but tip it off of Mason and out of bounds. So another, a little bit of an errant pass can result in another turnover for the Aggies, number 7. Here's Bainan. Bainan guarded by Olivia West, picks up her dribble, passes it in to Fly. Fly gonna shoot, fading away from about 8-10 feet out. Won't fall. Rebound by Utah State. Liza hands it back to Olivia. Olivia gonna drive up the baseline, puts it up. Don't know if it got blocked or just a solid defense by Buck, but either way it doesn't fall. New Mexico pushing it back in transition. Washington gets a screen, gets her inside towards the paint, puts up a shot, and the rebound by Bassett. Olivia passes off to Duffasy. Duffasy over to the right wing, hands it out to Eliza. Utah State shooting just 5 of 23 now. Eliza drives up, puts it off the glass with the lefty, and that won't fall. Eliza West now 2 of 5 for 4 points. 3 from New Mexico doesn't fall from Buck, but the offensive rebound long out to Fly. Going to give another opportunity. This time Washington hits it. And New Mexico, you give them too many opportunities outside like that one, and they're going to really hurt you. 23-10, New Mexico leads, and another timeout. But this one also right before when the media called. So 4:57 to go. We're going to cut out to a break. It's New Mexico 23, Utah State 10. All right, welcome on back to the Spectrum. It's 23-10. New Mexico leads the Aggies with 4:57 to go here in the second quarter. Aggies 10 points throughout 15 minutes of play here tonight. Very similar to what we saw in the first half of action against New Mexico earlier this season. In that game, the entire first half, Utah State scored a total of 18 points. They might not even hit that here tonight in the first half if they're not able to get things going. Aggies just 5 of 24 from the field, 7 turnovers. They're doing a good job hitting the boards, a lot of effort. I mean, really on both ends of the ball. It's not a lack of effort for the Aggies tonight. It's just a lack of getting things to fall. They need to start playing a much tighter form of offense, connecting passes and then getting good open shots. Here's Haley Bassett as Utah State comes out of the timeout. Bassett on the baseline. Passes it way back out up top to Eliza West to reset things. 10 on the shot clock. Eliza gets a screen, doesn't use it. Instead works over to the right side, passes out, baseline jumper, and Haley Bassett might be the answer. Bassett knocks down a nice 18-footer on the baseline. And then back the other way, a dribble stolen away by Olivia West. Out to Brewster, who lays it in the other way, and Brewster gets on the board with her 4th point of the night. Rachel Brewster breaks into the top 10 in Utah State career scoring history with that bucket. Rachel Brewster, in her 3-year career so far, Utah State still has another season left and the remainder of this season with 948 career points. Again, that breaks her into the top 10. Top of the arc, a shot falls from Linnea Bryan. Bryan making her second start of the season tonight, now with 5 points. Rachel Brewster on the right elbow, hands it out, gets it to Eliza. Eliza tries to drive, puts a lay-in off the glass. Really not a shot at it there, and the rebound by New Mexico. Foul called, though, on New Mexico in transition. Jason Nunn knocked down Haley Bassett and picks up her first personal foul and the third team foul for the Lobos. Nunn had a fantastic game against the Aggies the first time they played. 20 points and 12 rebounds tonight, though just 1 point, 4 rebounds, though, for the junior. Driving in is Bassett. Bassett puts the lay-in, too much on it. Rebound fought for. Jump ball on the rebound that's going to go back to New Mexico. Brewster, good job to hop in there and fight for it. But arrow points Lobo away. 26-14 New Mexico with 3:04 in the Bainan brings it across, passes over to Buck. Buck inside, lay-in by Nunn, won't go, grabs her own and puts it back up. Second bucket goes. Jason Nunn, I think the most impressive thing about this player, 5 offensive rebounds per game. She's averaging 10.1 rebounds per game, and nearly half of them offensive. That's just remarkable. 5th in the nation in offensive boards, and you see why right there. Liza gets a screen from Bassett, then passes it back to Bassett. Off the screen, Bassett falls away. Baseline jumper again, and Haley Bassett starting to warm up. 6 points now for the sophomore, and that brings Utah State back within 12. Bainan knocks down Olivia West. Olivia's feet weren't planted, though, so no foul called, and then a pass up top for a 3 by India Fly. Fly knocks down the 3 and now has 7 on the night. 7 points, 5 rebounds for the freshman. That's why she was the Mountain West preseason freshman of the year this season. Left wing, Brewster has it, kicks it right over the corner for Olivia West. Olivia's shot didn't hit any rim at all, falls and then is tipped out of bounds by the Aggies. So another unproductive possession there by Utah State. Aggies now shooting just 8 of 30 tonight. Difference so far, Utah State's taken 30 shots, New Mexico's taken 31. Utah State's only hit 8 though, while New Mexico's hit 13 of them. So 42% for the Lobos so far. Bainan brings it over the midcourt line. Gets a screen way up high by Fly, but that's a foul. Fly didn't quite get planted, and so that's a foul on the screen. The 4th team foul for the Lobos, 1 away from the bonus now, and for Fly, just her first personal. Aggies trail 31-16. Liza up top, passes over to Brewster on the right wing. Brewster guarded by Fly, passes it back up to Eliza. 13 on the shot clock for the Aggies. Pass into Bassett. Let's see if Bassett tries to make it happen again. She's going to drive, get up to the baseline, tries to turn around. Probably was thinking about turning around and shooting, but it's stolen by Bainan. And then Bainan passes the other into Anderson, who lays it in. So good defense turned into offense there for the Lobos. 52 seconds to go. 16 New Mexico. Liza's won't go. And so it's 33-19 at the half. New Mexico leads. Aggies just 9 of 31 from the field in the first half. That's 29%. While New Mexico 14 of 33 for 42%. Leading scorers for each team, Rachel Brewster for the Aggies with 7 points and 4 rebounds. Again, I want to talk a little bit more about this. Brewster breaks into the top 10 in all-time scoring at Utah State in program history. 947 was the magical number she needed to hit tonight. She exceeded that, and so now a top 10 scorer in Aggie history is Rachel Brewster. Still got a season and the remainder of this season left ahead of her, easily going to surpass that 1,000 point mark. Other than that, Haley Bassett, 6 points and a couple of rebounds. For New Mexico, India Fly with 7. Really a very well spread stat sheet here for New Mexico. India Fly had 7, Buck had 6, Washington had 6, Bryan had 5, Anderson with 4. Every player for New Mexico that's hit the floor, all 7 of them have got at least a bucket tonight. 5 rebounds apiece for Buck and Fly, as well as none. So New Mexico really hitting the boards well, leading in that category 24-17. We're going to cut out for a halftime break. Thanks for tuning in to Aggie Hoops here on Aggie Radio and Mountain West Network. We'll be back in a little bit with the second half of action here from the Spectrum. Again, it's 33 New Mexico, 19 for Utah State here at halftime. All right, welcome on back, and thanks for tuning in to Utah State women's basketball here on AggieRadio.com and the Mountain West Network. Utah State, after a half, trails New Mexico 33-19. A really pretty rough first half overall for the Aggies. A few good in there if you're a Utah State fan. I mean, a pretty solid defense holding down a high-power, phenomenal New Mexico offense. They forced 7 turnovers, all of those coming in the second quarter. So Utah State, I think, started to figure them out a little bit defensively in the second quarter. The Aggies giving a lot of effort. I mean, it's not been I think, Utah State trailing in the first half just because they're not trying. I think it's been just New Mexico executing very well and Utah State not doing anything on the other end offensively. Aggies just 9 of 31 for 29% shooting in the first half. 1 of 5 from downtown, 9 turnovers, and they're being out-rebounded 24-17. If I'm Coach Jerry Finkbeiner in the locker room right now talking to the team, there's a few adjustments that they can make that's going to get them right back in this. I mean, the first place you're probably going to look is the rebounding. I feel like they're creating shots. They're getting some decent looks, just not connecting. So just keep getting, keep getting those shots that you're getting now, and eventually they'll start to fall, hopefully. If not, it's going to be a really rough and long night for the Aggies. This New Mexico team, a very good team, though. 19-7, 7-6 in Mountain West play. They started the season 11-0, broke into the top 25 nationally. Really just, had a phenomenal start to the season. They've kind of dropped off a little bit, but I have the feeling that this New Mexico team going into conference play is going to be as tough to beat as one in that Mountain West tournament in Vegas coming up in a few weeks. They've proven that they're a very good team, and I really don't know if there's many teams in the Mountain West that could slow down such a good New Mexico offense. Utah State leading scorer in the first half was Rachel Brewster with 7 points. She had 4 rebounds as well. Started out a little bit of a rough shooting night from the field, but started to clean it up a little bit. 3 of 7 in the first half. Haley Bassett had 6 as well, and a couple of rebounds in the first. For New Mexico, Fly had 7. Washington and Buck each with 6. And then 3 players with 5 rebounds apiece. That's Buck, Fly, and Nunn. Talked a lot about the pace of play before the game and how New Mexico averages 82.7 points per game. So for Utah State to hold them to 33 in the first half, that's probably about what the target was. I said before the game, if the Aggies can hold them to 60, 65 points and then get things going offensively, they've got a real shot at it. One of those two things has happened, or at least is on pace to happen. So defensively, I think you keep doing a pretty similar thing against New Mexico. You held them just I say just 42%, but against such a good, efficient scoring team, that's pretty solid. That's about what they shoot on the season. And then you've just got to hit the boards a lot stronger. New Mexico is actually negative in the rebound margin in this category. They're about -1 per game compared to their opponents, and they lead Utah State 24-17. We heard Coach Finkbeiner talk before the game about the rebounding this season and how he feels like that's something that's really come a long ways. They've started to clean it up, started to do a much better job, giving more effort on the boards and whatnot. But that certainly hasn't been the case, at least in the second quarter of tonight. 8 offensive rebounds for New Mexico, which has led to 12 second chance points. Utah State with only 2 second chance points, so that's another big difference there. Just about to get back underway here at the Spectrum, and it's going to be, I believe, Aggie ball to start out the second half. Comparing this to the game that they played a couple of weeks ago down in Albuquerque, that one at halftime was 42-18. This one 33-19, so definitely a little bit closer than that one. And in that game, Utah State did play much better in the second half. We'll see if that's the case here tonight. It is Aggie ball to start out the half, and the inbound goes right away to Eliza West. She passes over to the right wing for Victoria Price. Aggies with their starting lineup on the court right now. Bassett passes it up top. Finds Duffy. Duffy's going to get up to the baseline. Stop, 15 out. Try to pass. Jason Nunn comes up with very fast hands by Jason Nunn. And a fantastic defensive play there for the junior. Nunn with 3 points, 5 rebounds tonight. Here's Bryan. Bryan uses a screen from Nunn up top, then passes over left wing for Buck. Buck pump fakes, then starts to go up and is stuffed down low by Haley Bassett. Haley Bassett this season with 24 blocks, make that 25 after she gets that one. Back the other way, Duffsey gets into the paint, puts up a shot from about 10 feet out. That won't hit, and she can't grab her own board as Jason Nunn comes down with it. New Mexico pushes it back quickly, then stops, then up top a three from about a couple feet out of the three-point line. Tasha Buck rattles it in and out. Long pass into the front court for the Aggies on the rebound. They're going to stop and slow it down, though. Aggies playing a bit faster pace than they have the last few games, especially the game against Boise State. And then passes it in. It's tipped by Eliza, but still gets to Nunn. Then she kicks it back out to Bryan. Fly on the left wing, gets into the paint, spins around. Beautiful move, but can't finish. But the rebound goes out of bounds off of Utah State. It's a really nice move to get into the paint there by New Mexico, and they're going to capitalize, getting the inbound now from the baseline. Bannon inbounds it, gets it to Buck. Buck over to left corner, three up. In and out from Bryan. This time Utah State grabs the board. Duffsey comes away with it. Duffsey with 4 rebounds now tonight. Liza passes over to Olivia on the left wing. Olivia back up to Eliza. 15 on the shot clock. Guarded by Bannon. Still holding it, can't dribble, so she passes over to Bassett up top. 8 on the shot clock. Bassett back to Eliza. Eliza guarded very tightly, gets up towards the paint, kicks it out. Left wing jumper from 3, airballed by Brewster, but put right back up and in by Haley Bassett. So airball as the shot clock was about to expire. Bassett grabbed it, put it back in. Then the other way, a steal by Duffsey, laid in by Olivia West in transition. Utah State has some spark. It's a 10-point game, 35-25. Good showing from Utah State so far this half. Left wing Fly has it, passes it up top to Buck, then dumped down low to Nunn, who is fouled and makes the basket. So that's one way to kill some momentum, but Jason Nunn, just one of those players that you can't stop. You can only hope to really slow down. She's so dominant all season long. I mentioned it before. She's third in the Mountain West with 16.6 points per game, and first in the Mountain West with 10.1 rebounds per game. You can average a double-double. That's a sign of a phenomenal season. Along with that, 81% from the free throw line. She's there for a couple shots now, and the first one, I'm sorry, just one shot, as of course it was an and one. So she knocks down the only shot on that trip and puts New Mexico up 38-25 as she completes the and one. Olivia passes up top to Bassett, then over the right wing, back for Olivia. She's going to drive, double team though, and stuffed by Nunn. Drove right into a couple of tall New Mexico players down low in Nunn. And not sure who else was down there, but gets blocked, and with 5:50 to go, New Mexico leads it by 13. Right wing, here's Bryan. She passes it up, gets it to Fly. Fly down low to Bannon, and then beautiful pass over to Nunn, but she can't complete it. Nunn, who's shooting 61% this season. That's 11th in the nation from the field. Tonight, shooting just 2 of 6. Here's Brewster, gets a screen from Duffsey. It's going to get her up to the baseline. Then pass up to the free throw line from Bassett. Jumper won't fall, and Nunn grabs the board. Haley Bassett had a really nice look at it there. Got a good shot. Back in transition. A shot put up and stuffed by Bassett. Anderson went up, and nice defense in transition by the Aggies. Utah State outscoring the Lobos 6-5 here in the third. Olivia passes over to Jensen on the left wing. Jensen in for her first action. And then it's stolen away by New Mexico. They're going to try and get the lane in the transition. Bannon can't connect. Offensive rebound, though, by Anderson, who tries to go back up and is fouled by Jensen. So Jensen picks up her first, and that's going to be a media timeout as we are just under 5 minutes. It's 4:40 to go, and with New Mexico heading to the free throw line after the break, it's 38-25. We'll be back in just a minute here on AggieRadio.com. .440 to go here in the third quarter, and Utah State trails New Mexico 38-25. The Aggies keeping them within, within striking distance, as New Mexico's shot pretty poorly this half, and the Aggies are trying to climb back in it, but still facing a bit of a deficit, and Utah State going to need some serious offense here in the rest of this game if they want to have a shot at it. A couple of free throws coming as we come out of the timeout for New Mexico. Antonia Anderson was fouled by Jensen after picking up an offensive rebound and going back up with it. So she's going to get a couple of shots here from the free throw line. 60% free throw shooter this season, and she knocks down the first. Anderson, a freshman from Cibolo, Texas, averaging 4.2 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game. Solid freshman for the Lobos, and she knocks down both. It's now 5 points for Anderson. Make that 6 after that free throw. Liza has it for Utah State. She passes over. Olivia West, left wing three up. No good, and the rebound by New Mexico. It's going to be Anderson coming down with it. Anderson picks up her 4th rebound of the night. Washington passes out to the left wing, gets it to Fly. Fly guarded by Liza. 10 on the shot clock. Mexico rarely uses this much time. Washington has it up top, passes over, left wing three up. Bryan knocks it down. Linnea Bryan came off a screen, got open for the three, and solid offensive possession there by the Lobos. Bryan now with 10 points. Olivia passes over to Eliza, then high pass into Mason, who tries to go up, but it's stolen away before she can even get into the shooting motion by Buck. New Mexico gonna push it. Fly kicks it up top. Buck pump fakes, kicks it over to the left wing. Bryan gonna drive, stop, pass it back out. New Mexico definitely slowing things down a lot here. Aggie defense picking it up a little bit. Up top, here's Buck. She kicks it over to the left corner. Driving up is Bryan up the baseline. Pass back out to Buck for three. Won't fall, and Duffesey grabs the board. Liza brings it across midcourt, then is fouled as aggressive New Mexico defense. It's going to be foul called on Linnea Bryan. So that's the first team foul for the Lobos with just 3 minutes to go here in this quarter. Mason checks out for the Aggies. Franson checks in. So Taylor Franson, the freshman from American Fork, Utah, getting her first playing time of the night. Duffesey on the right wing has it on the inbound. 20 seconds on the shot clock. She passes up top to Eliza, sets the screen. Eliza not going to use it, instead pass it over to the right for Jensen, who's going to drive up the baseline, have it poked away and out of bounds, but it will stay Utah State ball as it was off a Lobo player. 9 seconds on the shot clock once the Aggies inbound it from the baseline. Olivia passes in, left wing jumper up from 3, Shannon Duffy. And Utah State now trails 43-28. Shannon Duffy with her 7th point of the night, 6 rebounds as well. And then a quick 3 from the corner for New Mexico goes up and in for Maddie Washington. Bad sign though, as we've got a Lobo player down on the ground. I believe that is Linnea Bryan. So trainers come out, and definitely a little bit of a scary moment here in this one. We're going to actually cut out to a quick, and we'll come back in just a moment here on Aggie Radio. It's 46-28 with 2:28 to play. All right, quick break as Linnea Bryan was down. Good news for Lobo fans and really for everyone here in the building. Bryan was able to get back up, walk out mostly on her own will, so she heads to the bench, and hopefully we're going to see her back in here tonight. But good news for New Mexico. We're back in play. Utah State has the ball after that. 2:10 to go, and the Aggies trail 46-28. Olivia West has it. She hands it back to Eliza. Gets the screen from Duffy. She's going to work to the left off of it, put up a wild shot falling forward, hits the side of the rim, and goes back to New Mexico, and then a foul called on Lindsey Jensen after the rebound. So Anderson went up, came down with it, and then aggressive defense leads to a foul for Jensen. 3rd team foul of the quarter for Utah State, and the 2nd for Jensen. Under 2 minutes to go, and it's Lobo basketball. Left wing, Bainan has it. Bainan moves up, gets up to the block, but an offensive foul called as, didn't see who it was, but an Aggie hit the floor. And so New Mexico picks up their second team foul. And for Bainan, her second of the night, I'm sorry. So Cherise Bainan, the Mountain West leading scorer with 16.9 points per game. Only 2 points tonight. I mean, she's still got 4 rebounds and a couple of assists. But New Mexico doing a good job finding other offense here tonight. Right corner 3 up and no good from Eliza. Tipped back by Franson, but Bainan comes away with it. Bainan a long pass into the front court, way up to Anderson. Anderson tries to pass it back out to Washington. Stolen by Eliza, who's going to go right at the rim, put up a lay-in that won't go, but she grabs her own rebound and clears it back out up top. 20 on the shot clock and 1:06 to go here in the quarter. Liza on the left wing, passes up to Brewster, then over to the right wing for Price. Price back up to Brewster, then into Duffy on the free throw line. She's going to step back, hand it back out to Brewster. 4 on the shot clock. Pass over to Franson. Franson on the baseline don't know if she saw the shot clock, but she started to go into the shooting motion. It was blocked. New Mexico going to come away with it before the 30-second violation called. 39 seconds left in the quarter, and about 15 seconds between the shot and the game clock. Fly guarded by Eliza. Spins around, gets up towards the paint, gets free, and lays it in. And India Fly now with 9 points and 6 rebounds tonight. 8 seconds on the clock. Liza has it. Passes up top to Duffy. Duffy just inside the three-point line. Jumper won't fall. Rebound by Buck, who's going to pass it over to Bainan, and that is how the quarter will end. Utah State trailing by 20 after 3 quarters. It's 48-28. Aggies trailing. Leading scorers so far, Bryan with 10, Washington and Fly with 9 for the Lobos, and then for Utah State, Bassett with 8, Brewster and Duffy with 7. We're going to cut out for a moment and come back with the 4th quarter of action here at the Spectrum. All right, welcome on back to Logan, Utah. Utah State trailing the New Mexico Lobos 48-28, 3 quarters in. Fourth quarter just about to begin. Aggies down by 20, shooting just 29% and allowing New Mexico to shoot. Brian picks up the dribble on the double. 11th in the nation with 61% from the field. She gets up and is able to walk off, so that's great to see. Kind of holding her jaw a little bit. I do think it was in the head area. She might have got knocked a little bit, but good to see her up and moving. A player that was a good contributor but broke into the starting lineup this year and has absolutely broken out for the Lobos as one of the dominant players in the Mountain West Conference. So officials going over to the scorers table. I think this is to look at whether there was any additional contact, whether that was a clean play, whether there was anything worthy of deeming maybe a flagrant foul or anything above and beyond. Looks like it was a quick look though, and they're going to come back out and talk about it. But let's go ahead and look over some of the stats as we wait for their decision. Utah State cleaning things up a little bit in the turnover game. 14 total on the game to New Mexico's 12. They had a lot really early on, and they're starting to definitely play much better offense here. Still a little ways to go in that area, but they've given New Mexico 13 points off of turnovers. Rebounding, the Lobos lead 35-27, and then points in the paint, it's 28 for New Mexico, 20 to Utah State. So the official's going to call in both of the coaches. Try and listen in for just a moment and see if we can hear what they're talking about. So it looks like it's going to be a foul on Utah State. They said unsportsmanlike foul on the Aggies. I didn't see, my vision was impeded, so I didn't see exactly what happened under the basket that led to Jason Nunn going down so hard. But it's going to be a couple of essentially a flagrant foul call. So a couple of free throws with nobody in the lane for New Mexico, and then I believe possession. Tasha Buck is on the line, and she hits the first, and we'll have one more. So a big swings by Emmy Harris. Coach wanted a foul on that, as did Harris, but officials say it was clean. So it's going to be New Mexico ball as it was deflected out of bounds off of the Aggies after the shot. 57-36, the Lobos lead, 7:17 to go. Buck has it in the front court. She passes over to left for the corner. Inside, here's Buck. Shot is good from 15 feet out. Nice looking jumper there from Tasha Buck. Buck, a transfer from Green Bay. At Green Bay, had over 1,000 points in her 3-year career there before transferring to New Mexico. She was the Mountain West Newcomer of the Year this season, before the season began. Brewster passes it in. Gets on the baseline, who shoots from 15. Another, she's really that shot and is good at it, but she misses this one. 59-36 Lobos. Buck hands it back to Fly. Fly guarded by Harris. 15 on the shot clock. New Mexico now 3 points tonight, a couple of rebounds as well. Freshman shooting 71% from the line. Knocks down the second. Timeout called by Utah State. Jerry Finkbeiner wants to regather up his team, so with 5:32 to play in the fourth quarter, New Mexico leads at 62-39. We're going to cut out for a break and come back with the rest of the fourth quarter action in just a moment. All right, 5:32 to play here in this one, and New Mexico leads at 62-39. Definitely a one-sided game so far tonight. Utah State, I think they're at a point, I mean, obviously it's been an up and down, a little bit of a rough season, but they're at a point in the season where they're looking at the last few games and really going to finally be able to catch a little bit of breath here as the final few games against Nevada, Air Force, and San Jose State. And a bye in there, 2 of those 3 at home. So season going to lighten up a little bit for the Aggies here, but they got to finish this one out here strong tonight and take a little bit of momentum into the game against Nevada. It's Lobo ball as we come out of the timeout. Lobos have it in the front court. Bainan passes over, finds Washington on the right wing. Up top for Fly, then Fly passes back out, gets it in, shoots, and then the offensive board grabbed by Jason Nunn. Nunn tried to go back up, and it was knocked out by the Aggies, so it's going to be an inbound on the baseline from New Mexico. Not sure that shot hit the rim, and Coach Finkbeiner arguing his side that it didn't. But as it shows right now, there's 29 on the shot clock. So the official says it didn't hit the first time, but on the putback, it did. So fresh shot clock for the Lobos is the inbound. Pass goes way up top to Fly. Fly tries to pass it over. It's tipped out by Brewster. Good hustle, but it will stay Lobo ball. 3 Lobos in double figures. Nunn, Buck, and Bryan, each with 13 for Bryan, 13 for Buck, and 10 for Nunn, and then Fly with 9, so getting near that double figure number as well. Jumper from the baseline, Maddie Washington knocks it down. 15 feet out, now New Mexico goes up 439. I mentioned this number earlier, I've mentioned it throughout the season, but Utah State, in a conference like the Mountain West, really is going to struggle to get anywhere with the three-point defense they have this season. Second to last in the entire nation, allowing opponents to shoot this season all of 38.5%. That's 348th in the nation, and allowing New Mexico to shoot 47% tonight. They've struggled all season long to defend outside, and of course, I mean, there are a lot of good three-point shooting teams in the Mountain West, which doesn't help at all, but it seems like they've been able to get a lot of open outside shots on them all season long. 15 turnovers for Utah State in this game, 14 for the Lobos, so somewhat even there. Both teams, I'm sure, feeling like they could clean that up a little bit. Out of the timeout, it's going to be Aggie ball as Emmy Harris will inbound from the baseline. 4:41 to go. It's 64-39, New Mexico. Inbound goes to Brewster. Brewster towards the elbow, passes it back out to Harris. Harris over the left wing for Brewster. She's going to drive, put it up with the lefty. No good. Offensive board strongly brought down by Deja, then ripped away by Jason Nunn. Nunn, a very aggressive player down in the post, comes away with the steal. Good to see Nunn back in as well. Left the game for a little bit with a temporary injury. And as I say that, Buck gets underneath, passes around to Nunn, who lays it in. And Nunn now with 12 points and 8 rebounds tonight. Harris passes over the left wing for Brewster. Into Mason, then back up top. Wide open three for Emmy Harris. The freshman can't hit in the rebound by Bainan. Again, just 2 points. Shockingly low for the Mountain West leading scorer. However, 6 rebounds and 6 assists. So fantastic numbers otherwise. Driving in, New Mexico gets it stolen away by Duffesey. Harris in transition, spins around, puts it off the glass, and can't get it to fall. Emmy Harris struggling to shoot the ball. 1 of 6 now after that one. Quick pass in transition, again stolen away. Turnover numbers going up for both teams. Pass went in to Nunn and then stolen away by Mason. Harris brings it across and passes over to Gear. Back up to Harris, then over to Gear on the left wing. Gear pump fakes, moves in a little bit, pass down low to Duffesey. Duffesey fouled on the shot, so a couple free throws coming for her. Nice offensive play there for Utah State. Got an open Duffesey, or a one-on-one for Duffesey down low, and they'll take that every time they can get it. 2 free throws coming now for Duffesey, who's a 65% free throw shooter this season, averaging 8 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. Even on both of those, and she knocks down the first shot. Duffy now with, believe it or not, 8 points. 6 rebounds as well. Against Boise State, Duffy played 37 minutes. Season high there, and had 13 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. She knocks down the second free throw. Utah State now trails 66-41, 25-point game. Right corner, Smith has it. She tries to pass, another steal by Utah State. Sloppy pass, and Duffy steals it. Pass into the front court. Taylor Franson spins around and lays it in. Taylor Franson, the freshman, 6 points in her Utah State career. Make that 8. Washington turns down a 3 to step inside. Gets an open 15-footer, though, and knocks it down. And the Lobos answering everything Utah State's doing. Utah State getting a little bit of offense flowing, but plenty of answers on the other side for New Mexico. Livy gets up to Duffy, then over to the right wing for Brewster. Brewster to the baseline for Franson, then back up. Brewster for 3. In and out. Rebound by Anderson. 2:10 to go in this one. Here's Fly. She passes over. Right corner 3 up. No good by Smith, who airballed, but the rebound on the airball grabbed and put right back at it by Antonia Anderson. Freshman Anderson now with 10 points. 6 rebounds as well. Aggie ball won't go. Rebound tipped up and come away offensively by Shannon Duffy, who resets it out to Olivia West. Left wing, here's Gear, down to Franson. Over to the right wing, open 3 for Olivia West. Knocks it down, got wide open there. And she's gonna hit it to bring Utah State back down 70-46. Timeout. No, I'm sorry, substitute only, not a timeout. So Utah State sends back in Haley Bassett as Rachel Brewster hits the bench. Duffy hitting the bench as well, while Lindsey Jensen comes in. 1:27 to go. Utah State trails 70-46. Inbound goes to Washington. Washington brings it across. Lay in, no good from New Mexico, but it's tipped out of bounds, and it will stay Lobo ball. That's Emily Lines, the junior, who just checked in with the shot. 1:17 to go. Inbound over to left corner, 3 up from New Mexico. Airballed. Offensive board, though, put back by Jasmine Smith. Livia has it. 1 minute to go in this one. It's 72-46. Livia passes over. Jensen in the left side puts up a 3. Won't fall. Rebound tip back to Jesse Gear. Gear tries to pass it. New Mexico keeps it in bounds. Good heads-up play by Jaden De La Cerda, but it goes back, and then Utah State benefits with a bucket from Lindsey Jensen right after. 72-48, 40 seconds to go. 74-50, the final score as New Mexico comes away with another victory. The Lobos hop up now with their 20th win of the season, 20-7, 8-6 in Mountain West play. Utah State falls to 5-20, 3-11 in Mountain West play. As we conclude here, Utah State's leading scorer, Rachel Brewster, comes away with 10. Haley Bassett had 9, as well as Shannon Duffy with 9. Brewster on top of the 10-point night, 5 rebounds as well. 7 rebounds for Shannon Duffy, so she was 1 point and a couple of rebounds away from a double-double. For New Mexico, Buck with 13, Bryan with 13, Nunn with 12, and Washington with 11. We've now got head coach Jerry Finkbeiner coming over to join us. Coach, just talk about the team's performance overall in that one.
Well, it's we played a good team tonight. I keep using that reference point, but New Mexico is a hard matchup for us. Of all the teams in the conference, they're probably our toughest matchup. They got a little bit of size, they got a lot of length, and they hit shots.
Good time. Have a good night. Here in Logan, Utah State falls to New Mexico 74-50. Really a rough one for the Aggies. The good news if you're a Utah State fan, is just looking ahead. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, as I think the team has really kind of been looking forward to this point of the season for quite a while. They've still got, I mean, every team in the Mountain West is tough, and there's not really an off night, and especially when you're Utah State sitting in 10th place currently, you know, there's nothing you could take for granted. But they're coming off of, you look at the last 5 games for Utah State. You've got, I mean, they played Fresno State, a very good team, actually came away with a win in that one. Played New Mexico twice, which, as we just heard Coach Finkbeiner say, is probably the worst matchup for them, and just a brutal opponent. Played Wyoming and Boise State. So they had a tough stretch. And finally, they get to breathe a little bit. Play a few teams that are closer to them in the standings in Nevada, who they've already beaten this season here in Logan, Air Force, and San Jose State. So, and two of those games here at home, the final 2, and a bye week in there. 24. They seem to really struggle when they play a good post player, as they have in Jason Nunn here. She had 12 points and 8 rebounds, which amazingly is quite below her season averages. And then New Mexico, I mean, I think so much credit goes to Lobos. 5 different players in double figures. Buck had 13, Bryan had 13, Nunn had 12, Washington 11, Anderson 10. 5 players in double figures, while Utah State only had 1 player even get 10 with Brewster. And so they did a good job distributing the ball, getting it around, and creating all kinds of offense. I mentioned it before. Sharice Bannon, she's the leading scorer in the Mountain West Conference. She is averaging 16.9 points per game, and she has a total of 2 points tonight. I mean, she scored twice. One time. She put it 1 of 5 from the field, but she still had 8 rebounds and 6 assists. So while Utah State did a good job focusing in and slowing her down, as they did in the first time. I mean, the first time they played, she only had 4 points. So I don't know what it is about Sharice Bannon. She doesn't like playing Utah State much, but still, tons of offense coming from her. And 5 players getting in double figures, not even including the Mountain West top scorer. Go figure. We're going to wrap things up, but a final look at a few stats for Utah State. Rachel Brewster had 10 points and 5 rebounds. Haley Bassett with 9 points, 4 rebounds. Shannon Duffsey, 9 points and 7 rebounds. So all 3 of those players really, I feel like those are the 3 players that had really good nights for the Aggies. Other than that, not a ton of positives on the stat sheet for Utah State as far as individual players go. But those 3 really, I feel like, put in a solid effort tonight. Utah State, again, just 32% from the field, and New Mexico's 48%. Second half, much more even than the first, as was the case in the first game. Utah State was outscored 15-9 in the third and 26-22 in the fourth. And that's going to do it for us here in Logan. Again, Utah State will be back at it. They're heading to Reno this weekend to take on Nevada. That's going to be 3 o'clock p.m. out in Reno. And that's another conflicting game, as the often Saturday games don't conflict with men's games, and so those will be over the air 92.3 in Cache Valley. This one does conflict, as the Utah State men tip off almost the same time. So if you want to catch that one, that will be exclusively on AggieRadio.com, but we will have every bit of play-by-play action in that one. Thanks for tuning in to Utah State Women's Hoops here tonight. Final score from Logan, 74-50, New Mexico. Have a good night, and as always, go Aggies.